meeting to order. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Fort Clinton City Council meeting, special meeting on June 17, 2025 at 6 p.m. in the Linda Hart Club Chambers at Fort Clinton City Hall. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Beth Gillum.
Present.
Margaret Phillips.
Present.
Richard Morgan.
Present.
Avery Robinson.
Present.
Pat Hovis.
Here.
Jerry Trolley.
Excused.
Kathy King.
Excused. I'll entertain a motion.
Madam President,
Yes.
I move to waive any and all irregularities in the calling and conduct of this meeting.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I will second.
Thank you, Ms. Phillips. Okay, I have a motion by Mrs. Gilman, seconded by Ms. Phillips to waive any and all irregularities in the calling and conduct of this meeting. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. The purpose of this meeting this evening is to discuss the financial options for a 12-month period on the acquisition of the new city hall building and possible reuse of the current city hall building. Mr. Belo.
Thank you, Madam President. Council, good to be with you, and thanks for having this meeting. Before you is a proposal from what's called our criteria architect, who would do preliminary design, schematic design work after a preliminary assessment of current square footage used here at City Hall, 1868 East Perry, along with available or property square footage at 201 Madison Street, also known as the NWS building. You'll see referenced in there. His quote for services is listed at $44,000. He also provides professional opinion or opinion of probable construction cost, which is available on page 4 of your exhibit tonight. A high range, full interior reconstruction to meet City Hall needs or city staff needs and that of the different departments. And then a low range. The low range is estimated at $1,075,000. The high range is at $2,010,000. So we wanted to provide this. This just came in yesterday. Mr. Nusser, Mr. Colson had met with the gentleman, and they're prepared to retain services. The way the process would move forward is the criteria architect comes up with the preliminary plan, the broad strokes, the schematic design of what City Hall at 201 Madison Street would look like based on our needs. There would be a request for qualifications issued to the public for all potential vendors. There would be a response time submission or summary qualifications would come in from different design build firms that do this type of work, and we would competitively award that contract for the renovation of 201 Madison Street. Right now, the closing is scheduled on 201 Madison Street, July 28th, 2025. The reason this meeting was called was one, we had hoped to receive the quote or preliminary cost opinion, which came in. There's also an ordinance which we had discussed on financing the acquisition and renovation of 201 Madison Street. It would be a bond anticipation note ordinance similar to what council approved for the Lakeshore Drive revetment project, which is being funded primarily and managed by ODOT, where it would be a 12-month note issuance in that case, in the revetment case, to meet the city's required local cost share for that project. This would be for an amount to cover acquisition, which the list price or the sale price is $775,000. With closing costs, it should be approximately $790,000. That would be the acquisition total. There would be criteria architects services at $44,000. And then in time, we would receive competitive bids for the design build portion of the renovation, which is to modify as needed 201 Madison Street so that the city can move in. police department, other city hall on this side of the property here, to move into the building. That will come in time. We don't have that number yet, but the probable cost, the high range is just about $2 million. The low range is just a little over $1 million. So at the next council meeting, there will be an ordinance presented to cover those costs, and it would be this bond anticipation note ordinance, which would authorize me, just the way bond counsel, which is legal representatives at Squire Patton Boggs who do this for a living, these types of financial mechanisms process this way. Council's presented an ordinance, in it it's named, it has provided a not to exceed figure, a not to exceed dollar amount, and then that authorizes the city auditor to issue notes. In this case, it could be in a series, not just one. The first tranche, the first note issuance would be to cover the acquisition costs, and probably the schematic design of the criteria architect. That would be for 12 months. In the future, once we have responses back from design to build, vendors interested in the project, Mr. Colston, the mayor, would review. I know Mr. Colston's involved in all the competitive bidding processes, so that would be normal. They would review those, select a winner. We would then understand what that cost is, issue a second note for no more than 12 months to cover the cost of those services to renovate 201 Madison Street to move in. So I'll stop there and ask if there are any immediate questions from council. And thank you for your attention.
Council, any questions at this time?
Yeah, I have one. I was not in the meeting where we approved this sale. However, did we anticipate $2 million for renovation? I mean, I don't remember thinking it would be that much.
This is a preliminary opinion for, as it's described there, a high range. So
Right, yeah, I understand.
in my language, all the bells and whistles, right? The limited edition, perhaps, like a trim level of vehicle. So it gives a range. So that's useful information, a good data point for city administration, for city council to consider. So I'm not,
Okay.
I know that Mr. Colson and Mr. Snyder were not necessarily sticker shocked by that high estimate. So.
And we're obviously, as you said, we're paying this by issuing bonds. And
Well, I'll correct you there. It's a note, so it's basically a short-term loan.
okay,
For no more than 12 months to cover that initial 1-year period acquisition, and then another 12 months for renovation. Between now and then, the fate of this particular property and any revenue that we may see from either leasing it or selling it to another party would become known, ideally, in that time. So bonds will come later, which provide long-term financing, like 20 years, for example, that would allow the city to make affordable payments on an annual basis.
and what, I don't think you can tell me this, but let's say it's in the mid-range there, and the total cost is somewhere around $2.5 million, okay, let's just use that. And you'll issue a note, and I don't understand finances, you do. You issue a note for a year, and then after that, you issue a 20-year, or we get 20-year bond. About how much of a payment do you expect each year this city to pay? Is that anything you can estimate?
Not with great, we had preliminary numbers before. I don't have that dollar amount today for a couple of reasons. Interest rate is unknown. In the end, whatever the amount is, it won't be something that the city cannot afford. Let me put it that way. It was in, what I recall from the previous meeting in May, what day was it? Ordinance 18, which provided approval of the purchase agreement, was May 14th. 20 years at around the original estimate, which is maybe 1.5 million, all in, or a little bit north of that was $100,000 or something a year.
All right.
I have a question then.
Yes.
Looking at the space what to the county, this space?
I know there's been some interest. No one's asked for a proposal on, or offered a bid for the property yet, but conversations are happening on potentially interested parties. Mr. Snyder and Mr. Colston, I know, had a meeting today on it, I think, with potentially interested party. So I don't know. It's still early, but if there's interest right there, that's compelling to me. But we have time to figure that out, which is
President?
good that the process affords us that flexibility.
What do you expect that this area here that you are giving up, including the police department area, what do you think you could get for it if you were to sell it, which would help offset some of the other costs of the replacement?
Yeah, offsetting the cost of the new city hall at 201 Madison is important and part of the plan from the beginning. Of course, there may be other arrangements other than transfer of the property through sale. Lease, I don't think anyone is ruling any option out yet. There'll be an appraisal on this property in addition to the new one coming soon, so we'll be able to provide that information to you.
How much of this building then will be given beside this area where we are now, up to the door or wherever the other side of the door is, and to the police department, that all would be included on the lease or sell to someone else to try to offset costs?
Yeah, I think we'd be open to any and all, 100% of the square footage or a portion of it. Sure. I think we're still in the discovery phase of that part.
Do you have any idea how much square footage is here?
Yes, if you look in the form that was provided, the exhibit, total existing square footage at the bottom of page 3 is 14,232 square feet.
And that is for this building, because
Yeah.
it says then the other one, that the breakdown for the NWS building would be,
14,850 square
much?
feet. 14,850 square feet.
is that this land or the land of town?
The 14,850 is 201 Madison Street, the NWS building.
It's on the next page.
Top of page 4 is that figure.
I think I'm there.
Item number 2 at the top of page 4.
Yeah,
Provides
that's right.
that
That's what I
approximation.
wasn't, that's what I wasn't sure what it was talking about, but thank you.
You're welcome.
Was there, is this the only architecture firm, or is this one that was recommended, or how did they find this firm? Do you know?
There were two referrals of 2 existing, and I believe Mr. Colston and Mr. Nusser, Doug Nusser, interviewed both, and were more impressed with this outfit's credentials or project history, for example, and availability. We were hoping to get, an early probable cost estimate sooner than later, based on a professional's eye, and that's what we were able to get.
I appreciate they broke it down in cost per square foot for renovations. It's nice to see those numbers.
Which is an estimate
Right.
at this time, and obviously the final budget to be approved would be in a contractual agreement that council would approve. So there would certainly be a budget cap in the future. The ordinance for the bond anticipation note, or BAN as we call it, just like the others, it has that not to exceed amount. So council will be presented with a number. It will likely be a little bit north of the high range estimate, just to cover any scenario, unexpected costs, and who knows what happens with inflation, or who knows what's inflation, whatever, to cover any of those scenarios. But in the end, there's not an issuance or a guarantee that that authority would be exhausted. The full, say, $3 million for that, it would be whatever's needed based on the response that we get to the request for qualifications for design build firms to actually do the work and come up with final designs. No, I don't believe so, unless anyone else has comments or questions about the matter. But the planned course of action is, now that we have this quote, there would be an ordinance presented to council for a first reading next week on June 24th? On June 24th, there'd be a request to pass that at that time, so that notice could be issued, bond council is satisfied, and we'd be able to receive the deposit of funds from the sale of notes, so that we can sign the closeout paperwork at closing for the property at 201 Madison Street. So the question that council, we expect council to face next week is, will you approve an ordinance to allow for the issuance of 12-month notes up to a certain level to cover these possible cost scenarios? And then if that approval is given, which is necessary in the process, there would be a note issuance so that we could start what I'll call phase one, just the acquisition, and to cover the closing costs of purchasing the building.
What would happen if?
At approximately $790,000.
I'm sorry, I don't interrupt. What would happen if we didn't approve it? We've already bought this thing. What would happen?
We haven't bought anything yet, Mr. Morgan.
Okay.
Council approved a contract to purchase it. Closing is July 28th.
Okay.
So.
That's a good point.
Okay. Seeing no further business, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Madam President, I move this august body adjourn.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Otis. A motion by Ms. Phillips, second by Mrs. Otis to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Thank you. Adjourn.
Thank you all.